Okay, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's well. Happy Wednesday. Thanks so much for joining us. It's really, I just want to thank you so much for being here. What can I say? Spending a few minutes every single day doing this, is important into itself, in my opinion. This is why we're doing this. Just being able, and we're going to talk about this right now in the show. Like the show is also what we're talking about in the show is also about the show, right? So many times in life we live in our lives, and we wake up in our lives. We're like in a virtual reality game called Our Lives, and we're in the life. You're like, I don't remember which one, but I'm sure I've seen in my life when I was younger some cartoon of some sort in which somebody like gets zapped out of their lives, and like they're seeing their lives operate, but they're zapped out of it, right? And they're watching, right? There's a game called Our Lives that we play every day, and it has characters, and it has bonus points, and it has rewards and punishments. It's called Our Lives, right? And each of us have our own separate thing. And by the way, we can spend time just delving into the depth of faith and how part of the expansiveness of a divine, intelligent being is that each of us have our own curated life because each of us are here to solve something, to rectify something, to bring something to the world. So my body works in a certain way that may be even subtly different than your body for on purpose. And I connected to this person, and I have this thing, and I went to this job, and I have these talents, and I have these, weaknesses. And I grew up in this environment, and I speak this language. Like all of these things really aren't just because they're designed for me to be in my video game. The line of scrimmage. There's a great rabbi named Rabbi Dessler who speaks about this he has an essay called The Point of Free Choice. In Hebrew it's Nekudas HaBechira. And he speaks about how when you look at people, it's almost impossible to judge them because each of them have I'll say it in Hebrew and I'll translate, a Nekuda HaBechira, a point of choice. So the point of choice for the addict is not to engage in his addiction. Now, the guy next to him who is fully, let's say, unaddicted and healthy and, whatever, like him not taking that hit, that drink, right? That's not his point of free will. That's not his point of choice. That's not where his line of scrimmage is. His line of scrimmage could be further down the line in some areas. It could be, being nice to people, right? So when you look at their lives, it looks like the guy who's fully healthy is ahead of the person who is recovering from an addiction, but that's not how it works. Each of them have their own line of scrimmage. And the game of life is just what are you doing at your line of scrimmage, right? The idea that the person who's struggling with the addiction is any less than somebody who is, fully healthy in that way, it's not true. It's at any point in life. Are you or are you not advancing down the field? This happens all the time with let's take religion. If somebody is this type of religious and that type of religious, and then they'll think that I'm better or worse. Well, the truth is, you are who you are. And wherever you are is where you need to be at this moment. And the question is, are you moving forward or backwards? It's a daunting yet completely liberating concept that yesterday was yesterday, and it is what it is. And every morning you wake up, you get put back in the video game called, not video, you get back in the virtual reality game called your life, where God puts a line of scrimmage in front of you, and it is your choice during the day to push forward or to retreat. That's it. It's from calling the person back at work, to dealing with your client, to dealing with your family, to, acknowledging his presence, whatever it is. Everybody goes through life and has their own custom challenges that are placed before them in order for them to advance or to retreat. And if you advance every single day, you're winning. Period. And for some people, one advancement and they see already the results. And for some people, it takes years. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make you less. You're in the game. In the game of life. Now, for so many people, in the game of life is all they have. They've never pulled out. And if you never pull out of the game of life, it's hard to gain perspective. That conversation you're having is so important to you because you're in the conversation. You haven't pulled out to realize that it's largely ridiculous. Like you're mad at something dumb. And the two of you aren't talking and you guys are related. You know what I'm saying? Like you see this in families all the time. Like they're mad at each other for something. And then like you delve into it and you're like, what are you guys mad at each other for? And there's nothing even there. They're just in the conversation. They're in the relationship. They're bickering over something. That's why, by the way, we're awesome at giving advice to other people. You ever have this? You ever feel this way? Where like someone comes to you with like, usually like a relationship problem. I got to fight with my friend, and he said this, and this said this, and you're like, well, why don't you just call him and do this and do that? And I'm like, oh, wow, thanks so much. And you walk away, you're like, I'm pretty wise at this stuff. Like, that was pretty simple. Saying like, just say you're sorry. Right? Or like, it's pretty simple. Just like, call him later and go, take him out to lunch and explain it to him. And like, it's a tough conversation. Like it is. You have to get rid of, the person has to move on and get down and be open. Like, so many times when you deal with especially interpersonal stuff that's not complicated, that's not filled with real stuff, but like a lot of the stuff that we go through on a daily basis is not overly complicated. I'm not saying we don't have issues, but lots of the daily grind is filled with issues. You'll find that when someone else has an issue, you're like brilliant and wise, and then when you have the issue, you're like can't get out of your own way. You ever find that way? Because you're not in their issue. You're outside their issue. You're not in it. You're not emotionally invested in it. It's not surround you. That's not your virtual reality game. That's not where you're put in this world. So you just watch it. And when you watch it, the field seems a lot easier from the top. You ever go to a football game? When you go to a football game and you're watching the game from like, the owner's box, it seems like a pretty small field. Like, I don't know what's the big deal. Like, it's only 40 yards. Like, what are they making a big deal over it? Yeah, but then you get on the field and you see the players around you and it's a big deal. Right? But if you've never gone into the owner's box and you've lived on the field your whole life, everyone looks big and everything looks hard and everything is impossible. But the minute you pull out for a moment, go up to the box and look at the whole field, you're like, wait. The safety's coming in from the back. You can see the whole game. You can see the coaches on the side. You can see all the players. You get a total different perspective. Which is why maybe if you watch football, I know that it's not football season, but we could always come back for a minute. And if you don't, I'm sure after a little bit in the show, with God's help, you'll get at least enough. If you watch football, you know that the people making the play calls are actually not on the sidelines. The people making the play calls are sitting in booths up on top, and they're radioing in to the coaches on the sidelines what plays they suggest. It could be because that's where you gain perspective to call the right plays. But what's important for today, and then we can delve in tomorrow a little bit, what's important for today is just the recognition that if I don't come out of my life, I won't gain perspective of my life. If I have no time to reflect, if I have no time to have this conversation we're having right now, if I have no time to think about my life from above, then I'm living in it and I'm actually putting myself in a disadvantage. I have no perspective. I think I'm moving down the field, but I don't know if I'm calling the right plays. I could be spinning my wheels. I could be having conversations and I could be feeling certain feelings that I didn't have to feel, that have now sucked out time and attention, that could have gone to something more productive. And had I just gotten a drop of perspective, I would have realized this is ridiculous. I would have realized that he's a kid. They're kids. They don't mean it. They're kids. Kids are not intellectually developed. Why am I getting so bent out of shape over this? We'll talk about this. All right, everybody, have a great day. Just think about this today. How much time in my day do I come out of my day, gain perspective, and then jump back in? Or do I wake up, look at the phone, and then till I go to bed, in the day, in the world, in the day, in the world, in the day, in the world? I'm sucked in that game. You want to win a Super Bowl in life? You got to be able to make some play calls from the top. All right, we'll talk about it. Everybody have a great day. And with God's help, I can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Have a great day.
Living on a lifeline. The world doesn't ever seem to change. Looking for the sunshine, but you're caught up in the rain. It's like your eyes are wide open, but you cannot see. You're watching life pass you by like 1, 2, 3. Walking in destruction. The winds of life blur your vision. All the devastation. Forever feels like you're on the run. It's time. No one else can set you free. You're locked inside, and only you have got the key.